Hey, how's it going? George Anderson here with a sugary story for you today. I want to talk to you a little bit about sugar, about what happens physically inside your body when you eat the stuff, and you may find yourself nodding along saying, yeah, kind of like that's how I experience it as well. Or maybe you don't, but it's still happening inside of you. And that'll hopefully also explain a little bit about the connection between too much sugar in your diet and increased weight gain, in particular putting on laying down too much body fat. So if weight loss is one of the things that you're working towards at the moment, then you might want to listen into that point. But I also want to talk a bit about the cravings that we often get for sugar and why in particular that seems to be more of a problem later on in the day, say in the afternoon and evening, than it is perhaps in the morning when you can wake up feeling really motivated and pumped up and no, today's going to be a good day, only for things to go disastrously wrong later on. Why is that? So I'll talk a bit about that at the end of the video as well. But first of all, what's actually happening when you eat something sugary? And I will put a little asterisk in here to say that actually it's not just sugar. This is going to happen with all carbohydrates that you eat. It's going to have an effect physiologically very similar. It's just when you eat sugar, it happens a lot faster because of the way that the sugars are already sort of broken down. They're called simple carbohydrates rather than the longer chain complex carbs of starches like potatoes and pasta and rice and so on. But let's take this as sugar for the time being. You eat something sugary, you have that craving, you satisfy the craving, you have something sugary, you put it in your mouth, and very quickly certain things are changing inside your body and inside your brain. The first thing actually that happens is your brain releases the chemical, the neurotransmitter dopamine, which floods into the reward centers of your brain, which says, this is awesome. I'm having an amazing time right now. I'm feeling really safe. I'm feeling really certain. I'm feeling amazing, feeling really good. And then you start building this connection between eating the sugar and feeling amazing. And that's another way of describing that is the word addiction. So if you ever find yourself thinking that you have a sugar addiction, then that actually might not be too far from the truth. But that's the first thing that happens. And sometimes that process can actually begin even before you eat the sugar. It's as you start thinking about it. So if you're thinking about chocolate right now, or biscuits, or perhaps it's cake, or maybe it's Coke or 7-Up or some other sweet drink. Maybe just thinking about that just makes your tummy rumble and licking your lips and salivating, and that dopamine response is already going off and you're already thinking about it and craving it. And that's how we can start making ourselves psychologically, we can start thinking ourselves into cravings. It's not just a physiological thing. But anyway, that's the first thing that happens. The next thing that happens is that we start to experience a rise in your blood sugar levels. Now, that you might not feel that happening, but the brain is absolutely checking in on those blood sugar levels to make sure they don't go above a certain level. Because if they do, then that is like danger zone. The brain says, hang on a second, this ain't good. We got to do something about this. And this is the response in a healthy individual. If you have the blood sugar level regulation issues, whether that's diabetes or pre-diabetes or anything else, then this is going to be a very different pathway for you. But for most people who don't have issues like that, you're going to find that your brain is going to say, this is a problem. We need to start producing some serious insulin levels now to get those blood sugar levels back down to where they should be, which is the safe zone. And as that happens, you go back into the safe zones. That's all good. That's all fine. No problem at all. But then it goes a little bit lower than that. And you start getting below this threshold. So you have this kind of window here, this band, too high, okay, too low, and it goes down below that point there, and then you start experiencing low blood sugar levels, which is also a bit of a problem. So the brain starts thinking, well, hang on a second, we've got to do something here as well. Let's produce another hormone, glucagon in this case, and up they go. But in that time where it's dropped down to the low point, when we've got these low blood sugar levels, you're starting to feel a little bit tired perhaps. Maybe you're feeling a little bit lethargic. Maybe you're just gonna take 5 minutes, take a nap, and maybe you actually start feeling a little grouchy. Maybe you're feeling a little bit tetchy, a little bit short-tempered because those blood sugar levels are down. Maybe your appetite is starting to be stimulated, and maybe you're starting to have these sugar cravings all over again. This, for me, this whole cycle takes between 30 and 60 minutes. Normally it's up to 90 minutes for most people, but for me it's 30 minutes to an hour. And then I'm back to the top again, thinking I've got to get something to eat here. And hey, let's face it, it's pretty easy to access sugar these days. and there's no scarcity of it, so we end up going for it, and we end up satisfying those cravings, and the loop begins all over again. Now, before I go on to how we can, why we get these cravings later on in the day more than earlier on in the day, let me just tell you one more thing, because as the blood, as we're producing insulin and we're driving down those blood sugar levels, that sugar's got to go somewhere, and it can go one of three places. Ideally, it's going to go and resupply our muscle glycogen stores. That's the muscle storage vessels for the energy that it needs to access immediately for work. If you're going for a run, going to the gym, going to a class, it needs to have energy, and it's going to get it from glycogen a lot of the time. So that's one place, but that's only got a limited storage capacity. It might go to the liver as well, which is where our brain accesses a supply of glucose as well. So it can go there, but those two sources are often already chock full and not looking for more glucose, thank you very much. So it can only go to one more other place. And that place is, it goes to your fat cells. That's not a cool thing, because especially if you're trying to lose weight, then that's often going to be a problem. So sugar, excess sugar in your diet, excess anything in your diet, but excess sugar in particular in your diet is nearly always going to lead to excess fat gain as well. Pay particular attention to that if one of your goals is indeed to lose weight, because sugar is the number one reason why that most people struggle to lose weight. Now, that makes sense. Hopefully it makes sense to you. You can see, cause effect, eat sugar, put on weight, put on fat. Logically, you just reduce the amount of sugar that you eat, right? That makes sense. But we don't operate from a brain perspective, from a sense framework all the time. We normally operate from an emotional response. We're not making conscious, rational, logical decisions. Let's go and have some sugar to eat because that's a good thing to do. Sometimes we do, but normally it's an emotional response. And often during the course of the day, you might have woken up feeling pumped and motivated and optimistic and on it with your diet and your exercise. You're going to be healthy and fit and all those good things. Yet through the course of the day, you're making loads of decisions. You're getting people putting more pressure on you. Maybe somebody's looked at you in a funny way and there's a little bit of judgment there. Maybe somebody said something or not said something. Maybe somebody didn't notice your hair. You just had your hair cut. They didn't notice that, and they should have done. You noticed theirs when they had it done last week, and you're thinking of all these things. And on top of that, you told yourself that you're not going to eat sugar because you're on a diet and you're going to restrict yourself in some way. And so later on during the day, with all these pressures going on, and then the tea trolley comes around, or you go to the vending machine and it's there, you weren't going to have anything, but there it is. And you know what? I'm solid. I'm just going to have something because you know what? I've worked hard, and one thing isn't going to hurt me. I don't know if you've ever been in that situation before where you have that one thing and it's like, well, you know what, I've ruined it now. I might as well stop tomorrow, and so the rest of the day is a write-off. If that's ever happened to you, then that's really frustrating because the next day you wake up and think, why did I do that? It's just like one chocolate bar, it's no big deal. Yet once you've done it, then it's a cascade often from there forwards. And so we have this decision fatigue through the course of a day. If our sleep is out of whack, then that can have an impact as well on the decisions that we make. So all of these things are happening, all of these things over the course of a day make it more likely that our willpower battery is depleted, and we're more likely to have these oh sorry moments and just succumb to the cravings later on in the day. So that's what's happening inside your body, and hopefully as well, not hopefully, but possibly how you're experiencing it as well. And some of the reasons why we have these cravings later on in the day rather than earlier on in the day. So armed with that knowledge, what should you do about it? Well, often it's about getting upstream of the problem rather than trying to target stopping having the sugar there and then in the moment. We need to kind of get upstream with that and look at how we can address these stress levels. Can we get more sleep? Can we reduce the amount of caffeine that we're drinking? Can we improve our diet in other ways that are going to give us the nutrients that we need? Give us an opportunity to do some breathing or some exercise during the middle of the day that's going to reduce the chances of us having these cravings later on in the day and give us a greater feeling of being in control so it's less likely. So there are things that you can do to reduce these cravings, but sometimes, you know what I found with the people I've worked with over the years, is just knowing what's happening inside your body is often enough to just give you that pause, that moment of awareness between the thought, the feeling, and actually reacting to it. You insert that pause there, then you have that opportunity to respond in a way that's more aligned with the future version of yourself, your goals, rather than just surviving at the present moment.